warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as I have a post-match analysis of Cape Town City versus Kaizer Chiefs, which ended 2-0 in favor of Cape Town City. So, coming up then into this episode, the blue team will represent Cape Town City, and then the red team will represent Kaizer Chiefs. So, when you have a look at it then, coming up into this game, Cape Town City then did line up with a 4-2-3-1. Let's have a look at the personnel. So, in goals, they did start with Darren Keat. At left back, we did see Terence Mashego make a return. As the left-sided centre-back, they started with Tariq Phillies. As the right-sided centre-back, they started with Fasika. And then at right back, they started with Mkhize. Moving on then, right along within the heart of midfield, we did see Mukeke and Ambina. And then we saw Goedeman. And then off the left-hand side, they started with Gonzalez. Up front, you did see Wade Lakay. Off the right-hand side, you did see Mayo. So when you have a look at this Cape Town City side then, they were just absolutely dominant on the night. They started the game really, really well with regards to how they kept possession and also then how they were also looking to ensure that whenever they did turn over the ball, they won it back immediately. So when you do have a look at Cape Town City from an offensive perspective with regards to how their offensive scheme was and what they did very well in this game from an offensive perspective, well, let's have a look at the shape. So with Cape Town City then, what was key then is ball side fullback. So when you look at the ball side fullback, that's Mashego. You would have Gonzalez there. You'd have Lakay there. Goedeman would join within the front five. And then you'd have Mayo there. And then you'd have the two midfielders in Mukeke. You'd have Ambina. And then you'd have Mkhize, who would just tuck in to make it a back three. So what Cape Town City did on the night with regards to their offensive scheme then was a 3-2-5 shape. So ball side fullback would always be looking to offer the width. Far side fullback would always be looking to tuck in. And when you have a look at how then Cape Town City were looking to exploit this Kaizer Chiefs side. So Kaizer Chiefs then went with a back three. So defensively, it does then go to a back five without the ball when they sit in a deep defensive block. But what Cape Town City were trying to do then was ensure that they could exploit these holes in between the wing back and the wide centre back and on the right hand side as well. And as a result of that, the first goal does come then from an Ambina pass in behind, and that pass is played for Thamsanqa Mkhize, who was actually inverted at that time, and then you had Mayo, who was wide. That pass is played over the top. Thamsanqa Mkhize, beautiful first touch, and then he does play it across. When he does play it across, you do have Darwin Gonzalez, who does sneak in back post, and he manages to finish off very, very well. And then when you do have a look at how the game progressed with regards to what Cape Town City were trying to do, they were very much in control. So Cape Town City kept the ball very well, and whenever then the ball would be on the right hand side, that's what you would see. It would mostly be Mkhize there. You'd see Mashego looking to tuck in and vice versa. So what Cape Town City did very well then was control proceedings and how then they ensured that they were able then to be very dominant within the heart of midfield. And another thing also why Cape Town City had the edge over Kaizer Chiefs is because within the heart of midfield they had that numerical superiority, because you'd had Goedeman, who would often look to drop in, and then it would always be a 3 versus 2, because in there Kaizer Chiefs then did have the two in there with Sitebe and Nange, whereas Cape Town City had Mukeke, they had Ambina, and then they had Goedeman. So a lot of the times it was always 3 versus 2, how Mukeke and Ambina within the heart of midfield controlled proceedings, how they circulated the ball, how they progressed the ball. They were absolutely phenomenal within the heart of midfield. So when you do have a look then at the second goal, it does come by virtue of a set piece, and it is a set piece then from the left-hand side, where then Mayo does play it into the back post. You do then have Fasika, who manages to rise above Ngezane, and he finishes off very, very well. So when you do have a look at it then, Cape Town City were able then to manage the game, and they were able to ensure that they had control right throughout the game, and they were very, very dominant. Without the ball, what Cape Town City did very well then was ensure that they were very compact then within pretty much looked like a 4-4-2 block. So what they did very well then, that's what you saw from Cape Town City. That's how they looked to press at times. At times, they'd look to actually sit in somewhat of a mid-block. And whenever then they could apply pressure, they would apply pressure and they'd win the ball very well. So this Cape Town City side on the night tactically was superior. They were very dominant, and I must say that within the first half, Cape Town City could have actually wrapped up the game. Within the first half, the score should have at least been 4-0 because they created so many chances. And what they were doing very well then is they were able then to ensure that they controlled things within the heart of midfield. They were able then to stretch that back three of Kaizer Chiefs, oftentimes getting in behind the two wing backs and exploiting those two pockets, and being able then to get the ball wide, penetrate through the wide areas, and then also deliver quality balls into the box. They would do it on the left hand side, they would do it on the right hand side, and the relationship then we saw between Gonzalez and Mashego was absolutely phenomenal on the night, because a lot of the times what you would see is that Gonzalez would look to occupy the half space, Mashego would go, and vice versa. On the right hand side, it was very similar then with Mayo and with Mkize. Within the heart of midfield, Ambina and Mukeke were absolutely solid. So when you do have a look at it then, it is a well-deserved 3 points for this Cape Town City side. Managed to score 2 on the night. And when you look at it then, the players that stood out for me within this Cape Town City side. So at the back, Fasika was very, very solid. And you also got the goal as well. Within the heart of midfield, I think Ambina and Mukeke were very, very solid. And they controlled the game for this Cape Town City side. And then Gonzalez off the left-hand side was absolutely phenomenal with regards to how creative and how penetrative he was. And he also got that goal as well. However, let's move on then right along, and let's have a look at how Kaizer Chiefs went about things. So when you do then, let's just get that into a 4-2-3-1. So when you do then have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, coming up into this encounter, Coach Arthur Zwane did look to make a change with regards to the shape. So Kaizer Chiefs then came into this game with a 3-4-3, but because then they were without the ball for large spells, it did look somewhat of a 5-2-3, at times a 5-4-1 defensive block. So when you do have a look at it then, in goals, they did start with Peterson. As the right-sided centre-back, they did start with Ungezane, and then as the central centre-back, they started with Ungobo. As the left-sided centre-back, they started with Uzita. As the right wing-back, they went with Solomons. As the left wing-back, they started with Frosler, but we did see that he got injured and Mashiane was introduced. Within the heart of midfield, they started with Nange and Sitebe, and then the front three then being Dolly, Biliat, and Sikhota as well. So when you look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, I just think on the night they were just very, very poor. And they lacked a lot of energy, they lacked a lot of desire, they were struggling to win second balls. They couldn't press, they couldn't retain the ball for long spells. It was very difficult for them then to be able to connect passes and to have seamless interchange of passing. They really, really struggled in that regard. And where I think Coach Arthur Zwane got it wrong was changing then, because against Richards Bay and in previous games, he had been going with the 4-3-3. He had been going essentially with the three-man midfield. But against Cape Town City, he got thoroughly dominated within the heart of midfield, and Cape Town City were able then to institute that numerical superiority within the heart of midfield. And when you do have a look at Kaizer Chiefs, whenever they did go forward, what did they look like? So when Kaizer Chiefs did go forward, you did see both wing backs going high and wide. Then you had the two in there, and you had the three centre backs. So that's what you saw from them. You saw an offensive scheme of 3-2-5. However, with this Kaizer Chiefs side, they couldn't really create clear-cut chances. And even then, when they had opportunities then to have those successful offensive transitions and look to hit this Cape Town City side on the counter-attack, they couldn't do that consistently. So when you do have a look at it then, it is a very poor performance by Kaizer Chiefs as, I think they just didn't turn up on the day. The only person that I could say that really tried and was really then putting in a lot of effort, I would say, was Sikhota. But even then, it was just not enough because this Cape Town City side was absolutely poor from the players to the technical team. I think everybody on the night just got it wrong. So when you do look at it then, ladies and gentlemen, it does end 2-0 in favor of Cape Town City as they do pick up their first 3 points. They were thoroughly dominant on the night and they were tactically superior as well. Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. It is Dstv Premiership action. Babi Zebonke signing out.